I've been surfing for many years now, and I know that contests highlight areas of your surfing that you might not think about otherwise, but may have a drastic impact on your surfing. Today, after 15 years of competing, I wanted to pass on the key learnings from my mistakes and the barriers I've crossed, so you don't have to. My name is Considine, and this is the Sunday Glide. Today's video is all about what I've learned from surfing competitions and how that's helped my surfing. That can hopefully help yours as well. And if you are competing, hopefully it can help you and expedite that process of improving your results as well. I was also able to thankfully get some footage of my surfing up at Nationals and the competition there, so I'll be running through an edit of that at the end as well. And some of the things you learn from day one in contests is things about your inconsistency, which waves don't agree with you and which waves you want to surf more, which maneuvers you can pull off more reliably, and how your surfing changes under pressure. Today we'll be running through 4 key things that I've learned in my experience surfing competitions over the years that you can transition into your own surfing so you can benefit from the learnings you may gain through competition. Lesson number 1 is how competitions really highlight your success rate with certain maneuvers and the reliability and consistency of your surfing overall. This was one of the first things I learned when surfing competitions, that I would actually fall on 75% of the waves that I rode. So a big progression for my surfing when I was young, sure, I focused on different maneuvers, but an element that goes missing for a lot of people is their completion rate, because they don't technically have to make the waves consistently, in that there's no external repercussions for not doing so. And so overall, this impacts our surfing quite a lot. To approach this, I surfed within my limits and had certain periods of time and sessions where I devote to making sure I was staying within my comfort zone, but completing my waves. My main goal was to take off and kick off. So making sure that I took off on each wave, rode that wave all the way through and dictated when I ended the wave. In other words, not falling off. Now, obviously, this isn't how you really push the boundaries of your surfing if you're staying within your comfort zone, but I think it is an area that maybe isn't discussed enough, making sure that you can improve your consistency of your surfing so that overall your general baseline gets better, and then from there you can build on top of that with your maneuvers and begin that process once again. So this is a really good thing to focus on for your overall consistency and your reliability as a surfer. If we go out in conditions where the waves aren't lending them to nose riding or turning, this can be a really easy thing that we make sure we're focusing on. Let's say you're trying to complete 75% of the waves you got out there. If you're only completing maybe 40 or 50% usually, that can be your goal for that day and be a really good thing to focus on and come out of the water feeling like you've had some success. Lesson number 2 is you'll surf better more often by stepping outside of your comfort zone. We all have the tendency to surf the same spots, searching for the same conditions. This does limit our surfing progression, however, as we get very comfortable in certain conditions. Maybe it's only right-handers, maybe it's anything sub 2 foot, or maybe it's just point breaks. But by changing and varying the conditions that we're surfing, we can improve our surfing more holistically, which will just better prepare us for the waves when the conditions aren't ideal. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have that extra level of stoke when the waves do turn out to be your ideal conditions and you just want to get out there and go for it. Competitions highlight this a lot because much of the time you're surfing waves that don't suit you. Like the recent conditions that we had up at Nationals, I prefer lefts, I prefer nice, consistent, predictable waves. These waves were really challenging, 4 to 5 foot, right-handers, really punchy, really steep. So you have to be able to adapt to the conditions. This is something that I feel like I've come a long way with in the past year. I've won a couple of contests in pretty heavy conditions. One of the WSL trials events at Berube and then another one, here at Nationals. And so I'm really happy with how that's going at the moment. And I just need to keep pushing myself to feel a little bit more comfortable in these tricky conditions. Lesson number 3, this is how we're forced, just by close proximity, to understand where we're at, our limitations, and how to push the boundaries to improve our surfing. But watching great clips on Instagram, YouTube, or some of your old DVDs can be extremely motivating, where we all want to go, perch on the nose or sit in the tube after you've watched an epic surfing edit. But seeing this in the water live will definitely open up your eyes to another level of surfing. And it might even allow you to change your approach to the wave or go for that next new maneuver. You can definitely learn a lot from watching all of these high caliber surfers online and on videos, but it's even better when you're live with them. I think it tends to rub off on your own surfing as well. Now, this happens naturally in contests because you're surfing against people of a similar or maybe a higher level, and they're trying to beat you. So ultimately their surfing will definitely push you to go further and go harder and try new things and everything like that, which is really healthy for your surfing and your surfing progression in general. So definitely this is how the contests and surfing with competitors can help your surfing, but if you're not competing, it can have a similar effect if you're out there surfing with really good surfers and out there and amongst it with them. Lesson number 4, from what I've found, is it gives you determination to achieve a certain goal or level of surfing than if you didn't have a contest coming up. So with goal setting, one of the most important things is to have a timeline or a deadline by which you have to achieve something by. And I find that if you have a deadline, such as a competition that you want to have a particular result at, I think this can be a really, really good way to make sure that you are constantly working towards achieving that goal. And I suppose if your surfing's not at that level yet, yeah, you're really working hard, putting in the time and effort to get your surfing up to scratch to make sure it's there when it needs to be. Having had a lot of surfers that I've coached, I can tell you without a doubt that surfers who do have a goal in mind, whether it be a competition or a trip coming up or something like that, tend to do really, really well with their progress because they've got something that's driving them and something that they're accountable for, and that becomes their responsibility. It's certainly something that I feel like has helped my surfing quite a lot, preparing for nationals, preparing for all of these different contests coming up, thinking about, all right, where does my surfing need to be? What do I need to add in order to make sure that I'm in the conversation when it comes to finals? So yeah, that's definitely something that's driven my surfing. Now, it doesn't need to necessarily be a competition that you're focusing on, but I think giving yourself a nice timeline can be a really good way to make sure that you're achieving your goals. Now, we have gone through some goal setting before on this channel in a previous video, and I'll link the goals form that I created for another video in the description below if you'd like to go check that out, fill it out, identify your goals, and figure out how to progress your surfing. All right, so I hope all of that was useful. What we'll do now is we'll head straight into the edit. So some really good footage. Thanks to Gary McAvoy for sending that through. He was on the beach shooting, so that was really good. And yeah, tricky conditions. Really struggled with some of the heats. Was lucky to get a few waves, especially towards the finals. But yeah, definitely challenged me, and I'm glad that I suppose I have been working through conditions like this in the lead up. I've got a few beaches back home that are quite similar, that obviously aren't my preferred places to surf, but it really does help, especially when you have these conditions thrown at you in a competition. So let's run through that now.